Synergy Manufacturing steering knuckles for the 2018 Plus Jeep JL and the 2020 Plus Jeep JT Gladiator. Raise and support the vehicle. Remove the front wheels. Remove the steering stabilizer. This could be a different way depending on if you have a stock steering setup or if you have aftermarket. Next, remove the tie rod. You'll need to remove the tie rod from both sides, passenger and driver. Remove the drag link from the passenger side, the knuckle only, and then hang it out of the way. Remove the two big caliper adapter bolts. These are the two large ones that hold the caliper to the knuckle, and hang them out of the way. Remove the rotors. Some of the rotors still have the factory retainer bolt that requires the use of an impact screwdriver bit. Sometimes the rotors might seize onto the hub just from a little bit of rust. You might need to hammer them to get them to come loose. Remove the three bolts holding the brake rotor splash shield and remove the splash shield. Remove the Allen head bolt holding the wheel speed sensor in and gently wiggle it out. Remove the axle nut using an impact wrench. If you don't have an impact wrench, you can use a pry bar in between the lug nuts to counter the force from the breaker bar. Remove the unit bearing. Begin by removing the three bolts on the back side of the knuckle and wiggling the unit bearing out. Be careful not to remove the axle shaft, or the inner axle seal may be damaged and leak after installation. If the wheel bearing's been installed for a long time, everything's probably seized together. You might need to give it a few hits with a dead blow hammer to loosen it up. Remove the lower and upper ball joint cotter pins. Loosen, but do not remove the castle nut on the lower ball joint and the upper ball joint. Leave a few threads engaged so that when you're removing the knuckle has something to fall against. Separate the lower ball joint taper by hitting the knuckle close to the taper. Do the same for the upper ball joint. The slug that is used for alignment will probably come loose as well at this time. Remove the nuts and remove the factory steering knuckle. Remove the camber sleeve from the factory knuckle and install it into the new Synergy knuckle. Now that you've got the knuckle out, it's highly recommended that you replace the ball joints at this time. It's the same steps to get to the ball joints, but right now you can do them very easily. We highly recommend replacing your ball joints with a Synergy heavy-duty replacement ball joints. These ball joints are stronger than stock and go well with the rest of our steering components. Position the Synergy knuckle to the upper and lower ball joint studs. Loosely install the upper and lower ball joint castle nuts. Note, you may need to install a washer depending on which ball joints you're running. You need the cotter pin hole for the castle nut to line up with the castle nut. If the cotter pin hole is too far from the castle nut, install the washer. Initially torque the lower ball joint castle nut to 22 foot-pounds to set the lower ball joint taper. Tighten the lower ball joint nut to 48 foot-pounds, then tighten to align the cotter pin hole with the castle nut. Install the cotter pin. Tighten the upper ball joint nut to 55 foot-pounds, then tighten to align the cotter pin hole with the castle nut. Install the cotter pin. Slide the steering stop spacer sleeve to the supplied M10 bolt and put red Loctite on the threads. Install the steering stop spacer sleeve and bolt into the knuckle and torque to 13 foot-pounds. Install the unit bearing, apply red Loctite to the bolts, and torque the three bolts to 75 foot-pounds. Apply red Loctite to the axle shaft nut and install the axle shaft nut. Torque to 100 foot-pounds. This can be accomplished with the brakes reinstalled or with a pry bar in between the lug nuts to act as a counter torque. Install the wheel speed sensor and torque to 62 inch-pounds. Install the brake rotor splash shield and torque to 89 inch-pounds. Install the brake rotor. If you are retaining the factory keeper bolt, use an impact wrench to drive this home. Apply red Loctite to the caliper adapter bolts and install the caliper adapter. Torque to 144 foot-pounds. Both the passenger side and the driver's side are symmetric, so once you're complete with the driver's side, move on to the passenger side and repeat the same steps. Install the drag link. If using a factory drag link, new nuts, not supplied, will be required. Tighten the factory nuts to 30 foot-pounds and then 125 degrees after that. If using a Synergy drag link, torque both castle nuts to 55 foot-pounds and install cotter pins. Install the tie rod. If using the factory tie rod, new nuts not supplied will be required. Tighten the factory nuts to 30 foot-pounds and then an additional 125 degrees. If using a Synergy tie rod, you do not need to replace the castle nuts. Tighten both castle nuts to 55 foot-pounds. Reinstall the steering stabilizer. Perform a toe alignment. This can be done in the shop by reinstalling the front wheels temporarily or using our Synergy alignment plates. See the instructions if you'd like to use tires to do the alignment. To use a Synergy alignment plate, run a tape measure between the front of the plate and the back of the plate and compare the difference. You need to make this difference to have 1/16 to 1/8 inch toe in. If an adjustment is needed, loosen the pinch bolt and turn the double adjuster until the correct toe setting is achieved. Tighten the pinch bolt to 60 foot-pounds. Do not exceed 90 foot-pounds. Lower the vehicle back to the ground and install the wheels. Torque the lug nuts to 130 foot-pounds. If the steering wheel is not straight, adjust the drag link until it is correct. Installation is complete. For more information on this product or other Synergy products, visit us at synergymfg.com.